Welcome to Story from My Life, Echoes of the Past, Whispers of the Wind.
Part 1. Echoes of the Past, Whispers of the Wind. My name is Maxim, and my childhood was like an old cracked record, stuck on the same sad melody. Our apartment, an old Khrushchevka on the outskirts of the city, was permeated with the smell of cheap tobacco and fear. My father, a former miner, broken not only physically but also spiritually, found solace in vodka. His drunken antics were our daily nightmare. I remember hiding under the bed, covering my ears to block out my mother's screams. I remember sharing the last piece of bread with my brother because there was nothing but mold in the refrigerator. One winter, when the frost reached -20 degrees, my father, drunk, kicked us out of the house. My brother and I wandered through the snowy streets looking for shelter. We found it in the basement of an old building where we spent the night, frozen and hungry. I remember my hands freezing to the metal pipe and my brother crying quietly, and I promised him that everything would be all right. The only ray of light in this dark kingdom was my grandmother. She lived in a neighboring building, and her apartment was our island of safety. My grandmother, a former teacher, taught me to read and write. She told me stories about heroes who, despite hardships, achieved success. Maxim, she said, you have the mind and the will. Don't let circumstances break you. She taught me to play chess and said that life is also a game where you need to calculate your moves. One day when I was 12, I found an old business book in the trash. I read it from cover to cover, and it became my Bible. I realized that there was another world where people achieved success through their efforts. I started dreaming of my own business, of a life where I would control my destiny. I started trying to earn money, selling old newspapers, picking berries and mushrooms, and selling them at the market. Part 2. The Path Through Thorns, Stairs to the Stars. My grandmother's death was a blow I couldn't recover from for a long time. I was left alone with the harsh reality. I had to drop out of school and look for a job. I worked as a loader at the market, washed cars at a car wash, delivered pizzas. Every penny I earned was hard-earned, but I didn't give up. I continued to learn, reading books in the library and listening to lectures on the internet. One day when I was delivering pizza, I met a customer who turned out to be the owner of a small IT company. He saw potential in me and offered me a job as a courier. This was my chance. I worked diligently, not only delivering documents, but also learning about the company's operations. I offered my ideas, and some of them were successful. The company owner noticed my diligence and promoted me to sales manager. I was a natural-born salesman. I could sell snow to Eskimos. Thanks to my efforts, the company began to grow rapidly. I became the owner's right-hand man, and he trusted me like himself. I learned to negotiate, make profitable deals, and manage people. A few years later, when the owner decided to retire, he offered me to buy the company. I took a risk and took out a bank loan. It was the riskiest step in my life, but it paid off. I remember the first big deal I made. I felt then that I could do anything. Part 3. Life at the Top, Echoes of the Past. Now I am the owner of a large IT company. I live in a luxurious penthouse, drive expensive cars, and travel the world. I have achieved everything I dreamed of, but I have not forgotten my past. I donate money to charity, help children from poor families, and fund educational programs. I want them to have a chance at a better life. I built an orphanage and named it after my grandmother. Sometimes, sitting on the balcony of my penthouse, I look at the city and remember the boy who lived in the old Khrushchevka. I think about how far I've come and that anything is possible if you don't give up. I remember promising my brother that everything would be all right. My brother now works in my company and has his own family. I know that my past will always be with me, but I will not let it define my future. I live for myself, but I also live for those who need help. I want my story to be an example to others who find themselves in a difficult situation.